Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, verse number 24. Uru Suparna Bhujaya Adi Shobhamanav Ojo Nidhi Atashika Kusumavabhaso Vyalambi Pitavar Varshasi Vartaman Kachi Kalapa Parirambi Nitamba Bimbam. Uru Suparna Bhujayo Adi Shobhamanav Ojo Nidhi Atasika Kusumavabhaso Vyalambi Pitavaravashasi Vartaman Kachi Kalap Parirambi Nitamba Bimbam. So synonyms are Uru, the two thighs, Suparna of Garuda, Bhujayo, the two shoulders, Adi on, Shobhamana, beautiful, Ojanidhi, the storehouse of all energy, Atasika Kusuma, of the linseed flower, Avabhasau, like the luster, Vyalambi, extending down, Pita, yellow, Vara, exquisite, Vashasi, on the cloth, Vartaman, being, Kanchi Kalap, by a girdle, Parirambi, encircled, Nitamba Bimbam, his rounded hips. So now I'll read the translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So translation. Next, the yogi should fix his mind in meditation of the personality of Godhead's thighs, the storehouse of all energy. The Lord's thighs are whitish blue, like the luster of the linseed flower, and appear most graceful when the Lord is carried on the shoulders of Garuda. Also, the yogi should contemplate his rounded hips, which are encircled by a girdle that rests on the exquisite yellow silk cloth that extends down to his ankles. So now I'm going to read the purport. The personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all strength, and his strength lies on the thighs of his transcendental body. His whole body is full of opulences, all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. The yogi is advised to meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord, beginning from the soles of the feet and gradually rising to the knees, to the thighs, and finally arriving at the face. The system of meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead begins from his feet. The description of the transcendental form of the Lord is exactly represented in the Archa Vigraha, the statue in the temples. Generally, the lower part of the body of the statue of the Lord is covered with yellow silk. That is the Vaikuntha dress, or the dress the Lord wears in the spiritual sky. This cloth extends down to the Lord's ankles. Thus, since the yogi has so many transcendental objectives on which to meditate, there is no reason for his meditating on something imaginary, as is the practice of the so-called yogis whose objective is impersonal. So very nice translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. So let's get started. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvinmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Um, so I thought I'll begin today's presentation. Of course, we are reading Canto 3, chapter 28, verse number 24. So I'm going to start with a commentary by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And his commentary and his translation is pretty much on the same lines almost as this Srila Prabhupada's. But one little, there's just one little detail which he has more. So I'm going to just read his translation. So his translation is, he should place in his mind the two beautiful, powerful thighs of the Lord, blue like the atasi flower, as he sits on the shoulders of Garuda, with hips surrounded by a belt and draped with the best yellow cloth. And then the commentary is, it has already been said that one should meditate on the Lord moving in verse 19. One should meditate on the two thighs of the Lord, mounted on Garuda, going to give blessings to Prithu and Dhruva. Bhajayor Adhi means upon the shoulders. Nitamba Bimbam means the area of his hips. So, of course, what he has incorporated is that, when you're meditating on the Lord's thighs, then, meditate on going, that as though he's on Garuda and going to give blessings to Prithu and Dhruva. So he's just made that one more little point. But of course, we will go through this whole thing, whole translation and everything in detail over here. So, we can then discuss. So before I actually wanted to start, with this, explaining this, I wanted to give some sort of a background. So what we are doing is we are doing this meditation on form since the last few days, of the form of Lord, and the attractive, form of the Lord Krishna, and beginning with his feet. But before I, go on to what this verse is actually contemplating. Firstly, it's talking about meditation. So what really is meditation? So meditation means like you're really thinking very deeply, and maybe what is important is that you're kind of pondering or reflecting. And what is important when you're doing meditation is that, you're not like losing your concentration. So it's like when you're concentrating, you're genuinely concentrating. So that is what like actually good meditation is. And, even in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, it is said that how does Lord Krishna like you to serve him? And then he's talking about a yogi, that is yoginam api sarvesham madgata gatenantar atmana shraddhavan bhajate yoma same yukta tamo mataha. So he says that of all the yogis, he who always, is worshiping me with faith, worshiping me with transcendental loving service, he's most intimately connected to me in yoga and highest of all. So the point is, when you're doing meditation, you must be engrossed with a loving service and in faith. Then it kind of, then the meditation is actually successful. And, there are many kinds of meditation these days, right? But I thought that I will just give a brief introduction of, like we in Krishna consciousness, maybe what kind of meditations we can do. So first thing is, of course, we have meditations on meditation on holy name of the Lord, where we do the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every time. And, that's so beautiful, because that's what our parampara is suggesting. And And that is what is so nice. And even Goranga Darshan Das, I don't know if you saw his lecture, but I saw it online. And somebody was asking him the question that how do I know that I'm stagnating in my spiritual life, I'm progressing? And one of the points, he gave 3 points, very nice. But one of the first point he gave is that, when you're chanting the holy name, uh, you need to introspect from time to time, that are you like just doing it like mechanically, or are you doing it because you're totally dependent on the Lord? Are you doing it out of love, or are you just like, okay, I have to get my rounds done and it's mechanical? So if you know that you're progressing, if you're not going more and more down the mechanical route, it may not be possible to do maybe all the 16 rounds in love and devotions, but definitely we should start with at least some of the rounds with like pure love and devotion, and then reach the 16 rounds with pure love and devotion. So just mechanically like a parrot, that means, yeah, you are stagnating. If you're just going every day, at least that's what I feel, that we should do this introspection, which he's saying, that he's saying that do it from time to time, okay, what am I doing? Like, do I even have love for Krishna? And of course, he said 2 more points is that, have a peer review of someone who's very close to you, who knows your journey. And I was thinking it could even be a family member who knows your journey, and they can give you some feedback, or a devotee who really knows you. His was more like peer, like devotee review. And the third thing is, he said that you can pray to the Lord and say that, Lord, okay, where am I lacking? Can you show me? So it's a very beautiful things which he said, Gauranga Darshan Das, and especially what he said about meditation on the sound, how are you doing it? And then second thing is, of course, another type of meditation is what is a meditation like? You could meditate on the qualities of the Lord. That is also another thing. Even though that's not in this verse, but I'm just giving introduction of types of meditation. And the thing is that Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:16:26-30, he has written, and I'm going to read. Even if it were possible to count the atoms after smashing the earth into powder, just imagine the earth is smashed and there are so many atoms and you are like counting each and every atom. Is it possible? It's almost impossible, right? Still, it would not be possible to estimate the unfathomable transcendental qualities of the Lord. Means the Lord has so many qualities, they don't even have names, you can't even count. Still, the nectar of devotion does give us a detail of 64 qualities of the Lord, and that can be a start. And actually this morning, just before the class, I opened that chapter, and even one quality, they have mentioned one quality and then you had the description. Even if you read like one quality and description, is so sweet, really. And then another form of is the Leela of the Lord, and Srila Prabhupada has said that, by regularly hearing about the Bhagavatam, rendering devotional service to pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is destroyed, and loving service, you can go get, is established, and that is an irrevocable fact. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. And the reason he says that, because the pastimes of the Lord are in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So this one, of course, is the fourth form of meditation, though all these meditations really lead to the same goal, so it's not really different. In a way, they are, they have similar objectives. But this one here is the meditation on the form of the Lord, like why, and why even meditate. And this particular is a very authorized, this meditation on the form is very much authorized system in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sukadev Goswami actually recommends this particular type of meditation. So firstly, why do we even meditate upon the form? Why is the form of the Lord so important? Actually, it's called Roop Dhyan in Hindi, like Roop of the Lord Krishna. So because when you focus on the form of something transcendental, automatically, firstly you develop the focus. And the second thing is your mind gets purified, because you know that your individual consciousness, now you're linking it to the supreme consciousness. And then another thing is that it enhances your emotional connection and love with the supreme. you know. So you develop bhakti, and then what is it? It actually awakens in us our eternal nature, and our spirituality and our love for Lord Krishna, and also gives us peace, you know. And so there are so many, these are some of the benefits of actually focusing on the Lord's form. Uh, if we are, say we are watching TV the whole day, somebody's watching TV the whole day, and then they're watching, you know, this particular, like all the violence going on and everything. Now that thought actually permeates in their consciousness, right? So whatever your actually mind is focusing on, that that thought comes in your consciousness, and that is what elevates your consciousness or dampens your consciousness. So if you are looking at the form of the Lord, and you know that the Lord is supreme, and you know, so then your consciousness gets affected, you know. But the important thing is, mind should not run in so many directions. Like they say, you know, in Bhagavad Gita, mind is your friend and enemy, right? Both, right? So yeah, you have to make friends with your mind and fix your attention on the Lord. So over here, of course, it is said that the yogis, the meditation on the thighs, which is Lord's thighs, and the thighs of the Lord actually represent the strength of the Lord. And in the translation, it is given that the thighs of the Lord, they are like the linseed flower, which is kind of like a very pleasing, whitish blue color. And, you know, and they also notice that, okay, when the Lord is mounted on Garuda, then he looks most graceful. And also then it is said that the yogi should contemplate on the Lord's hips, you know, on the rounded hips, which is encircled by a girdle. They say there's a girdle there. And then there's this yellow silk cloth up to the ankles. So it's so beautiful because in our mind's eye, we can now picture that scenario, you know, of the Lord's thighs and the hips, and you know how and what they represent really. And Srila Prabhupada, then he goes on in the purport to talk about, you know, how the Lord is actually so full of opulence, because he has everything like riches, he has strength, he has beauty, he has fame, knowledge, renunciation, all quality. I mean, everything. He's like Sarvagun Sampan, right? So the yogi then, but the important thing is that you know that there should be in Srimad Bhagavatam it is recommended that first you start from the Lord's feet, you know, because I think that is maybe like as a sign of respect, and that's the authorized way where we should go, like from you know, right from the feet, and then you go up, right? And from the feet also we heard, I heard Amrita Kelly's lecture also that day, Mataji's lecture, and she was, you know, the feet, of course, destroy the sin. And, you know, she was, that verse also talks about Lord Shiva and the Ganges and all, which was beautifully explained. And then we have, so from the feet actually of the Lord, then you go on to the knees, and then you go to the thighs, and then you know, come up, come up, come up, and then go to the face. So, you know, you start like that, like even when you're going to the temple, okay, look at the feet, then this thing, and you know, and so on. And so it becomes, then there's like a process, and like these different, like the feet represent something, like the thighs here are representing strength, like that different parts of the Lord's body are representing something. So, you know, if you can remember that, you know, or at least some of that, because there are so many parts of the body, you know, you just look and admire the beauty, you know, and also in your mind you can think about what they represent also. So but Srila Prabhupada makes it one thing clear, that you start right from the feet of the Lord. That's one thing that is made very clear in this thing. And also, Srila Prabhupada, you know, at one point in the purport of 2.1.19, you know, in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that, I'm just reading, he's a person, but his body is different from those of conditioned persons like us. It's not like our body. His like his all spiritualized body. Otherwise, meditation bringing from the pranav Omkara up to the limbs of the personal body of Vishnu would not have been recommended by Sukadev Goswami for the attainment of complete spiritual protection. And in Bhagavad Gita, of course, 2.1.19 also, it's described how you should meditate on limbs on Vishnu without being deviated from the conception of the entire body. It's not like, okay, don't just go for the entire body, go limb by limb. And then, the mind will become free from sense objects. And there should be no other thing to be thought about. So when you're doing this meditation, just fix yourself there. So then, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is the ultimate truth, the mind becomes completely reconciled in him itself, right? So, of course, Srila Prabhupada does tell us that for bhaktas, probably this is possible because we develop the love for Lord Krishna, right? We are taught that Lord Krishna is so nice, and we actually develop this love. So for us, the love part. Otherwise, some people may just look upon who may not believe much in Lord Krishna, may look at it as like, okay, like a material body. But we already know that Lord Krishna has a spiritual body, and we can actually go limb by limb and appreciate. So of course, we mentioned about the thighs and the hips, and the next part of the purport is very interesting, actually. And it talks about the Archa Vigraha, which is in the temple, and then the lower part of the body is covered with yellow silk, and this is known as the Vaikuntha dress, this with the yellow silk, and it goes on to the Lord's ankles. And I came across a Nectar of Devotion. Actually, there's a very small paragraph in Nectar of Devotion, which I would like to read. Actually, the Lord himself, he's a very meticulous dresser, it is said. It said, a person who's fond of dressing himself is called Lalita, or a meticulous dresser. This characteristic was found in Krishna in two ways. He used to decorate Srimati Radharani with various marks, and sometimes when he was preparing to kill demons like Aritasura, he would take care to arrange his belt very nicely. So, he would be careful that, okay, is my belt looking nice? And, he was very much fond of dressing very, very well, And so even in our temples, when we see all the shringar and all, that's why, we do this shringar just to please him, right? And even in the qualities of Lord Krishna, actually, in the section in Nectar of Devotion, one of the qualities is artistic. The Lord is artistic. So he says over here, of course, I'm not going to read that whole paragraph, but what's something which Radharani speaks. She says, my dear friend, just see how Krishna has nicely composed songs and how he dances and speaks funny words and plays on his flutes, wearing such nice garlands. He has dressed himself in such an enchanting way, as though he had defeated all kinds of players at the chessboard. He lives wonderfully at the topmost height of artistic craftsmanship. So it's like the Lord is so nicely, Radharani says, so nicely he dresses. And over here, of course, it is references made with the yellow silk of the Lord. So I did some research, and I came across two pastimes of the Lord where, and I'm sure there are many, many more, but the pastime of the Brahman wives, where once Lord Krishna, the cowherd boys, they grew very hungry, and Lord Krishna, there was a sacrifice being performed by Brahmins, and Lord Krishna sent them, for food, and the Brahmins thought Krishna was an ordinary man. They sent the cowherd man's back, and then the Lord sent them again that, no, now go to the Brahman's wife and make the request. And the Brahman's wife readily gave food. They were so happy. And that time it is said, like in Krishna book also, it is mentioned, and I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit, but what the Brahman wives saw, they saw Lord Krishna with a blackish complexion, and wearing a garment that glittered like gold. So it's like more like this yellow concept. And he looked like a dancing actor on a theoretical stage. And there's like a lot of big, huge description, actually. That whole paragraph is beautiful. And then also there was this pastime of when Akrura enters Vrindavan. So when he enters Vrindavan, and according in all this in the scriptures, Krishna book and all, it is mentioned that uh, when Akrura came to Vrindavan, he saw Krishna and Balram. They were supervising and milking the cows. And there it is said that Sri Krishna was dressed in yellow garments, like with the same thing over here, that the lower part is yellow, okay? And Sri Balram in bluish. And the eyes were like lotus flowers. And and then they had well-constructed bodies. So when we are meditating on the form, it's not, their body is very attractive and well-constructive, right? And beautiful hands, pleasing faces, they were strong, and they glanced at him with pleasing poses, and they had taken their baths and were dressed with fresh flowers, bodies smeared with sandalwood pulp, and so all that kind of description is given, and I'm sure so many. But this point which I am making over here, this point about the Lord being covered in yellow silk, is actually in many pastimes. I mean, I just picked like two, which are kind of suggesting the yellowish color tinge kind of thing. And also the reason why the dress of the Lord is mentioned is because the Lord was a very meticulous dresser. That is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion, not like something put on and just gone. He was very well presentable, very well. That is why we should meditate on Lord Krishna's form, because it's so attractive. Firstly, his well constructed, pleasing body, and it's so pleasing and attractive, plus the dressing, which is, and even in temples, if you go, all the devotees, sometimes I think that every devotee is actually dressing the Lord so beautifully, or whoever dresses, according to their conception of beauty. And so if you go to the temple, like to concentrate limb after limb, that's a really nice kind of a meditation of the Lord. So but then the important thing, of course, is and just to summarize here, is that this meditation has to be done with love and devotion. And that, of course, here it is said that, even the thighs are bluish, whitish bluish. And, and that over here, you can even imagine that they appear most graceful when, of course, the Lord is going in Garuda. And then also the rounded hips are given. And Srila Prabhupada then brings about the point, like we discussed, about the Archa Vigraha, and how the lower part is, covered with this yellow silk. And then he calls that the Vaikuntha dress. And he says, and he just caps off by saying that, this is so much easier to meditate the personal form of the Lord than the yogis who are trying to meditate. Some yogis who are trying to go towards the impersonal, and so it's imaginary, and so it's that becomes very difficult. But here the form of the Lord is easy and very pleasing to meditate on. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions or comments or clarifications? Okay, so if not, then we can conclude this presentation today. And I very much appreciate your attendance and interest. And so Granth-Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.